All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Bodybuilding News Today. I am your host, your boy, Sanch, and let's get right into this episode. We have a jammed packed episode for you guys here. We're going to be reviewing the complete lineup for the men's bodybuilding open class at this year's 2020 Europa Pro, aka the IFBB Pro Spain. So if you guys are interested, make sure you guys stay tuned. Now, you guys are going to have to check out the other video I did talking about the Europa Pro. I did a highlight involving, Samson Dauda, Andrea, muzi, Rafael, Brandao, Lucas Osladil, Big Ramy, James Hollinshead, Regan Grimes, and Jamie Christian-johal, aka the Giant. That's his Instagram name, aka the Giant. So when I say, anyways, it's a funny dad joke. I still think it's funny, so I'm going to keep saying it. But in today's episode, we have 11 new competitors that I have not heard of, specifically for this show, that I'm going to spread some love and some highlight on. I will also include their Instagrams, if I can find them, in the descriptions below. So let's go ahead and get into it with the first competitor, Slavoj Bednar. Now, obviously, I'm going to have terrible enunciation of these guys, but it is what it is, and I'm going to see what I can do with pronouncing it correctly. And from what I've seen, Slavoj. So from what I've seen, Slavoj placed 7th at last year's Vancouver Pro. So the same one that Hadi Chupin did, and the same one that Joe did. So and also Lucas Osladil did the 2019 Vancouver. So a lot of names that have competed there are doing well this year and are potentially competing at this show. Now, what can we say about his physique here? He looks like he's a smaller competitor, but he does have nice lines. I think he is a little shallow in the back department doing his back double bicep, but he does have nice bicep peaks, very reminiscent of a Kai Green, if I could say so. He also has nice calves for how big they are. For what they are, they do look nice. A very pretty quad sweep, and a somewhat controlled midsection. I think Slavoj could place in the top 10 if he brings some fantastic conditioning. Obviously, what he brought to Vancouver last year would not make the cut, so hopefully he's making some improvements from what he did last year at the 2019 Vancouver Pro. Now, the next guy I have is Kuba Cielen. Now, this guy, I looked over on NPC News Online, and you guys know how I feel about them. And once again, they have messed that one up. This guy, it says the last time he competed was in his NPC show. And that's obviously not correct because he competed at this very show last year in 2019, at the 2019 Europa Pro. So, Kuba is making his return to the Europa stage to wrong some rights that he did with placing last year. Now, hopefully he can do well this year. Looking at his Instagram, Kuba underscore, pretty much his name with an underscore between it instead of a space. He kind of reminds me of Antoine Valiant. Same flow to his physique, somewhat a little smaller in the midsection, but hey, that's not always a bad thing. I think he has a nice flow to his physique. He looks pretty proportionate. So if he brings in some really dialed in conditioning, it looks like he's doing right now. Yesterday, it looks like he posted this picture on Instagram, and he does look really good. Not a huge fan of all the ink he has, but with the tan that they have nowadays, you can cover that up for the most part. So I do see Kuba placing well here. Maybe not in the top 10, but if he brings good conditioning, who knows? He might be the dark horse to get into that top 10. Now, Marcelo Pedro Da Cruz, I had some information about him, and that turned out to be wrong, so I had to do some more digging. But I did find a clip on his Instagram of a recent posing for him getting ready for the show, and it looks like he's looking pretty good. He has some good size. His glutes look defined and ready to go, and I think he has enough mass to place in this top 10. I think that he could definitely surprise a lot of people. He's definitely not somebody that was on my radar, But from the competitors I've talked about so far, I think that Cruz has the best chance to get into this top 6. And who knows, you could even see him in a 7th or an 8th place finish here at the 2020 Europa Pro. So best of luck to Cruz, and let's get right into Marc Hector. Now, from what I'm seeing here, Marc Hector actually has a very nice physique, very wide flowing lats and big arms. He definitely has the potential of placing well in this show. Obviously, with everyone else, if he brings that dialing, that diced up conditioning, he can actually do very well at this show. He does have a very beautiful physique, and I definitely, like I said, I do see him placing well at this show, but it's really going to come down to conditioning and him being on stage in the right conditioning to beat out some of these other competitors. He does have one of the better flowing physiques, I think, in my opinion. He also has a very nice bicep peak along with his shoulders. Just a very, I would say he's still very new to the sport. He's been a pro for, I think, 2 years now. So he's definitely new to the bodybuilding ranks in the men's bodybuilding MBB pro circuit here. But I do see him doing well, and I definitely look forward to seeing him at this Europa Pro. Now, Igor Illes. Now, this guy over on his Instagram, Igor Illes _ Veiny Beast is his Instagram. Go ahead and check him out. I'll be real honest, I was looking at his photos and I wasn't crazy impressed. I thought he looked very under-dieted. I think he has a long ways to go before he's going to be getting a top place call out with that level of conditioning. Now, saying that, I did look and I found a posing routine from 2019, December-ish. And oh my God, this guy, if he brings dieting, conditioning, if he comes in shape, he could really be a dark horse to get into the top 6. He could really surprise some people. Now, I do think that he might have a little bit of lagging body parts in the terms of his legs, but he is an absolute mass monster on top. Very large, very wide, big arms, big shoulders, big, wide, full chest, and a very deep lat spread. So definitely going to be one of my favorites going into the show if he brings the conditioning. Now, like I said, as of his Instagram, it does not look like he's conditioned at all. I'm very worried. Respectfully, obviously, these guys are pros, so it is what it is. I need to be honest, and I am worried for Igor. But, like I said, I'm just going in circles, and I'll stop there. If he does bring the conditioning that he needs, I think he could surprise everyone with a top 6, top 8 call out here. Next one we have is Kili Kujala. Now, this is a Finland bodybuilder, and the last time we saw him on a IFBB Pro stage was at last year's Japan Pro. So he was actually alongside Regan Grimes and, who else? Cedric McMillan and a couple other guys. Now, he placed 9th, and that was not a very deep lineup at Japan. So I'm a little worried for his placings. I don't think he's going to crack into the top 10 unless he brings crazy conditioning. Just looking at this back double from Japan last year, he has a good flow to his physique. He has very well developed glute muscles, but it looks like that's actually his somewhat only standout muscle group. Looking at his Instagram from 3 days ago, like I said, Kili _Kujala _ IFBB Pro over on Instagram. Go ahead and follow him. He's doing a variation of 2 different most muscular shots. And, what can we say here? He looks like he has some conditioning. You can see the feathering in the quads. You can see the striations in the chest, and you can see the abdominal muscles showing. The thing is, I don't think that this level of conditioning is going to get him rewarded with a top 6 call out, which is what everyone's looking for. So he's got 7th at Japan last year, and this being his first show of 2020, it's really gonna, I feel like I just keep saying it, but it's going to come down to conditioning for this guy as well. If he can bring, a lot of these guys, they don't have the size to compete with someone like Regan Grimes or Big Ramy. No one has the muscle except Joe to really compete with the massive Big Ramy. But Joe, I don't even think is going to be doing this show. He's doing Chicago, from what I understand. So size, they can't play the size game at this show. They can't play it at Europa. They might be able to play the size game at New York or one of those big boy shows, but the level of size that some of the competitors are already bringing, they're not going to be able to catch up. So they're going to have to play the Rafael brandao game and bring beautiful lines, a beautiful shape, and excellent conditioning, dry, grainy, Munzer, Frank Zane level conditioning. That's what these guys need, and hopefully, respectfully, they hear me and understand and apply it. What is it, a week out? Not even a week out from the show. There's not much more they can do, but hopefully that was the mindset that they had coming into the show. Next one we have is Paul Latham, and Paul Latham is I think he's a 50-plus bodybuilder. He recently competed was the Bros Pros UK recently, and he got his pro card, I think, in the 50-plus category. So he's definitely going to be one of the older competitors. I do wish him the best. He's going to work with what he's got, and hopefully we can see him in that 12, 10 placings. I don't see him getting much higher than that. Next one we have here is Marek Olejniczak, who placed 10th at the 2019 Romania. He also did I'll put it on the screen for you. He did a recent posing over with the, the IBB, the Indian Bodybuilding Federation, IBBF, and a very interesting organization. I'm definitely interested in learning more about that organization. For the most part, I don't see any of their pro level, their top 5 guys competing in the IFBB. But when you look at some of their promotions for these Indian Bodybuilding Federation shows, they have the Amateur Mr. Olympia tag or the logo. So it makes you wonder what correlation they have. It definitely would be a great collaboration to see these two mass monsters of an organization come together for a good show. But maybe it's just these bodybuilders, these Indian bodybuilding athletes aren't interested in competing in the IFBB. You never really know, but it looks like Marek did a guest posing here, and he looks good. I think his midsection's a little big, just to be honest. It is a little big, a little blown out. What will we expect to see here in less than a week at the Europa Pro? That is going to be something that we're going to have to wait to see. Now, from what I know, this is going to be his first show of the year, and not a lot going on his Instagram. He looks good for the most part, but I do hope to see a better version of him compared to when he was doing his guest posing in India. Now, the next guy, and I've heard Nick Strength and Power, Nick Miller, talk about this guy, Milan Sadiq. He's mentioned him quite a few times, talking about the big names coming to the show. So it's kind of surprising that he had this name in the lineup. Now, Milan, no disrespect at all, placed in top 6 at the 2020 Tampa Pro, or was it the 2019? I'm not sure. I think it's the 2020. And I do like his physique. I think he has a very beautiful flow. He has kind of like he is reminiscent of mass monsters nowadays, but with a beautiful midsection, a very small waistline, and then huge legs. Reminds me of, what's the guy that competed at New York Pro? Hassan Mustafa. He reminds me of a smaller version of Hassan Mustafa, respectfully. I think he has great lines. I know I said most of these guys aren't going to crack in that top 6, top 8, but I think if Milan Sadiq can bring a really good conditioning, anything comparable to what he brought to the Tampa Pro, I think he could crack into this top 8. I think he could even surprise some people and get into that top 6. Now, I don't think he has the size in all of his areas to keep up with some of these other big name competitors, but I do think he has the lines and the conditioning from what we've seen in the past for him to compete and place in the top 6, top 8. This guy is definitely going to be a dark horse if he can bring the conditioning. He's an oxygen gym competitor. He trains out there with Ramy and the boys. He's big, he's full, he's got a lot of mass, but if he brings conditioning, I could see him being another one who could surprise us with a top 8 finish. Definitely look forward to seeing him. Looks like the video I have from him is from May, so it is a little dated, but hopefully he can bring some pretty good conditioning to this Europa Pro stage. And that'll pretty much do it, guys. Like I said, go ahead and check out the other video where I talked about the other competitors, the big names, like I said in the beginning, all those guys, including Jamie Christian-johal, a pro debuter. All those guys will be in the other video. This one is already long enough with just talking about these guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys enjoy bodybuilding content in general, definitely subscribe. We have lots more to go. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking. And if you guys would like to support me on a personal level, you can always go to goldeneranutrition.com. You can use my sponsored athlete code SANCH15 at checkout, and I would appreciate it. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.